Hi, welcome or welcome back to my decorating series. We're gonna go inside, go back to the 19th floor, and continue with a bathroom. So, I wasn't exactly sure what I was gonna put in this bathroom to tie into the rest of the spaces, the hotel spaces in general, but also kind of the aesthetic of the executive suite itself. So I decided to start with bathroom stuff because that seemed obvious to do. And although I don't think that it matches up as good as it might with just the other things that I have already chosen, I really wanted to put the pet stuff in here just because I thought if somebody had their pet and were staying in the fancy suite, they might want that stuff. And it's new. I haven't used it yet. So there was part of me that was like, does it actually make sense to have in the suite? But I don't know. The other thing that I had forgotten that I wanted to put in here until I started scrolling. Oh yeah, that aquarium thing is new. It's huge, but it's super cute. I don't keep it in here, but I had to look at it. Is the jacuzzi. I forgot that I had been thinking about putting it in this until I started scrolling. And then as soon as I remembered, it kind of helped me define what the spaces would be. I knew I needed to have like a regular bathing area, so it's either a tub or a shower, and then, you know, toilet and sink, and then the jacuzzi area. And because I got the pet stuff, I was like, oh, I can split this room into thirds. Now, I have done a layout similar to this in a few spaces. I think I've even done a bathroom with a similar layout, just how I break up the room. But I really think it works for the fact that it's a room split into three kind of distinct areas, but also because I wanted to really make the centralized main area of the room the jacuzzi, because I know that it's one of those amenities that people would look for in a luxury suite, depending on, you know, the purposes of there. If it's like a business trip, maybe not so much, but especially a honeymoon suite or something like that. And so even though I have done kind of this layout before in other ways, I feel like it still really worked for what we were going to do in the room with the objects that we had. Also, if you didn't notice, you can put the little fountain things that are on the floor underneath stuff. So I actually put them underneath the jacuzzi to make it look like there were like little jets under there. And then you can put flower decorations, like the little, what are those? The orange ones. Are they called lilies? They're not called lilies. What are those called again? Apparently, I'm not going to remember, but I think they're super cute because they light up and they're flowers, and you know, they're definitely in my aesthetic wheelhouse. But I didn't know I could put stuff on the jacuzzi, so I added those because, well, it's really cute. Now, I take a minute here looking at the walls and floors and ceiling because this new wallpaper set and floor set that we got from the current Star Path, this is April of 2026. I had not had a chance to use it or look at it yet. And honestly, when I put it up on the wall, I was like, oh my God, this is super pretty. And it kind of works for this space, but it doesn't really work with the hotel. So even though I thought it was really, really pretty, I was like, it doesn't really fit what I've been doing. So that's fine. There was no way I could account for it. But this room isn't exactly like the other spaces. The other spaces are very brown centric as their neutral background. This room ended up being a little bit more gray. But I think because we went for a little bit fancier of a look, and the fact that we're still pulling in a lot of natural elements, that it will still work out. Oh yeah, I decided to add some lights behind the vine wall things because I thought it would just be cool, vibey atmosphere back there. And although I have used all of these components to break up spaces before, I really liked how a lot of these elements tied together. The fountains, the wanderer cabinets, the kind of planter thing that's from Wall-E, the vine walls, of course, I don't know. I hadn't really played with these elements in this way yet together. So I was glad that even though I was kind of repeating some concepts, repeating some layout, that I'm still able to figure out different ways to pull everything together and make it feel different enough that I don't feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. It's always nice to get to play around and see all the different ways you can do things with the same objects. And of course we get a few new objects here and there that can incorporate in, but sometimes I worry that it's just going to be like, oh, it's just another one of those spaces. And it still feels different because the color palette's slightly different, or, you know, the combination is slightly different, or, you know, like things dictate for you what you can use in the space because either, you know, the colors don't mix, or because I'm trying to fit into the other floors. I do wish I had some different mats. Maybe by the time we actually get back to redoing some of these spaces or freshening up some of these spaces, I imagine it's going to be at least a year or so before I do any of that, that we will have some new little rugs that could be used as mats or bath mats or whatever in here. I didn't really like any of the other ones. I used the little stone half circle things just because I thought it made it look like the footprint was slightly different for the sauna. And I've used them in a couple of the other hotel spaces. But yeah, I didn't really feel like any of them fit. So it's fine. And now we're just filling out some plant life because, of course, I have to make it as lush as possible. I don't know what it is about this game and me wanting to fill every inch of the floor with plants in some of these rooms. But I did realize I needed another little fountain. So I'd not used those any places yet. And because I can use them inside, I decided this would be the room to do that. And a little bit of windows, a little bit of extra decor, things I have used in other spaces just to tie it even more together. And I looked at the mushrooms, but they didn't quite do it for me in here, although I do love that you can put them through the vine walls. And now I'm just scrolling to make sure that there's nothing else last minute I want to stick on the walls. And yeah, wrapping it up. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. So, of course, this is the halfway point through floor 19. I was a bit nervous about this floor in general, just because the further in I get to kind of the hotel spaces, the more I get concerned about how they're all going to marry together. Especially, I've done floors where everything kind of goes together, but not in the way that I am doing in this particular floor or these sets of, or I guess this set of floors. But I am still having a really good time. I'm so glad that I remembered the jacuzzi. That is definitely something I would expect to see as an amenity in a suite like this. I'm glad that although it is more of a gray palette, I think the walls in particular really did it for me, where it's like green and gray, because even though a lot of the other spaces are brown and gray, I think that because it's an executive suite, it can be a little bit different of a tone in here and still work with the rest of the floors. I love the little fountains. Those make me feel really fancy. I put them in a couple other places where I wanted it to feel like executive. I do like the fact that I use the little puppy grooming station and bath, although it's not quite the same tone. But if any space was going to have it, I feel like this would be the space to have it. So I love the fact that I got to use the fountains. I'm really glad I figured out that you could put those little fountain things underneath the jacuzzi and the flowers in it. I always love an excuse to use these kind of vine lights. And they're too big for a lot of spaces, and they're not really symmetrical, so they can be tricky to use effectively, or at least the way I like to do things. But they really work in here for me. Of course, I love using the Naboo windows again. And yeah, Still digging what we're doing here and looking forward to seeing what else I can do with the last 2 rooms for this executive suite. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time.